Hello everyone, welcome to edexcelbiology.com. In this video we are going to start the lessons for Section 1 in Edexcel Biology Book 1. Let's go to the lesson. We explore why chemistry is so important in biology. Every living thing, whether it's a tiny dragonfly, a tall tree, or a cow, is made up of chemical substances. To understand life at the cellular level, we need to understand chemical bonds. For example, to explain how water behaves in our bodies, we first need to know about chemical bonding and dipoles. Let's begin with the atom, the basic unit of matter. Atoms have a central nucleus made of positively charged protons and neutral neutrons. Surrounding the nucleus are shells with negatively charged electrons. A full outer shell makes an atom stable and non-reactive. But most atoms don't have this, so they react with other atoms to become stable. Atoms achieve stability by gaining, losing, or sharing electrons. This is the foundation for chemical bonding, and it's how all molecules form, from water to complex proteins. Why should we care about chemical bonds in biology? Because bonding determines a molecule's shape, solubility, and function. If we want to understand DNA, proteins, or even water, we must first understand how atoms bond together. Let's look at ionic bonding. This involves the transfer of electrons. One atom loses electrons and becomes a positively charged cation. Another gains electrons and becomes a negatively charged anion. These opposite charges attract each other strongly, like in table salt, where sodium and chloride form an ionic bond. Now on to covalent bonding, where atoms share electrons. Covalent bonds are very strong and often result in neutral molecules. But sometimes, electrons aren't shared equally. This creates polar covalent bonds, where one end is slightly positive and the other is slightly negative. A great example of a polar covalent bond is water. Oxygen pulls the shared electrons closer, becoming slightly negative, while hydrogen becomes slightly positive. This makes water a polar molecule, with tiny electrical charges on each end. Ionic substances dissolve and separate into ions in water. Cells are 60 to 70% water, so most ionic substances exist as ions in living organisms. These ions play critical roles in both cellular function and the body systems of organisms. Let's take a closer look at the important inorganic ions, or what we call anions and cations, in living organisms. Blue circle first, let's talk about anions, which are negatively charged ions. These include nitrate ions. Plants absorb these from the soil to synthesize amino acids and proteins. Without nitrates, plants cannot grow properly. Phosphate ions. Phosphates are essential components of DNA, RNA, and ATP. In other words, they're involved in genetics, energy storage, and energy transfer within cells. Chloride ions. They help maintain the electrical balance between fluids inside and outside our cells. Chloride is also a key component of hydrochloric acid in the stomach, which aids digestion. Hydrogen carbonate ions. These act as a buffer to maintain the pH of blood. They prevent our blood from becoming too acidic or too alkaline, helping enzymes work at their optimal pH. Now, let's move on to cations, which are positively charged ions. Some of the most important cations in biology include sodium ions and potassium ions. These are vital for nerve impulse transmission and muscle contraction. The sodium-potassium pump actively moves sodium ions out of and potassium ions into cells, creating the electrical gradient necessary for nerve signals. Calcium ions. These are involved in muscle contraction, blood clotting, and they help trigger neurotransmitter release at synapses. Calcium also plays a role in strengthening bones and teeth. Magnesium ions. Magnesium is a key component of chlorophyll in plants, which is essential for photosynthesis. It also acts as a cofactor for many enzymes. Hydrogen ions. These are crucial in determining pH levels. A high concentration of hydrogen ions means low pH, acidic, and a low concentration means high pH, alkaline. Enzymes are very sensitive to pH, so hydrogen ions indirectly affect almost all biochemical reactions in the body. Water is essential for life. It's the medium for almost all chemical reactions in cells. Water also helps transport substances around the body and is a key reactant in photosynthesis. Plus, it's the habitat for countless organisms. Water, with the formula hydrogen oxide, has two hydrogen atoms bonded to one oxygen atom through covalent bonds. Because of its polar nature, water molecules have slight charges. Oxygen is slightly negative and hydrogen is slightly positive. These slight charges lead to hydrogen bonding, where the slightly positive hydrogen of one water molecule is attracted to the slightly negative oxygen of another. This gives water many of its unique properties like high boiling point, cohesion, and surface tension. Water is a polar molecule. The oxygen atom has a slight negative charge, and the hydrogen atoms have slight positive charges. This uneven distribution of charge makes water excellent at interacting with other polar molecules and ions. When an ionic substance like sodium chloride dissolves in water, the positive sodium ions, Na, are attracted to the slightly negative oxygen ends of water molecules, and the negative chloride ions, Cl, are attracted to the slightly positive hydrogen ends. Water molecules surround and separate these ions, effectively dissolving the salt. Because water molecules are polar, they form hydrogen bonds with each other. Each water molecule can form up to 4 hydrogen bonds, creating a network that gives water its high cohesion and surface tension. These hydrogen bonds also help stabilize important biological structures like proteins and DNA. Water's polarity allows it to act as a universal solvent. It dissolves a wide variety of substances including ions, sugars, and amino acids. In living organisms, this is essential. Metabolic reactions occur in aqueous solution, and water transports dissolved substances like glucose, oxygen, and waste products. When ionic compounds dissolve, water molecules pull individual ions apart and surround them. This is called hydration. High specific heat capacity. Water has a high specific heat capacity. It can absorb or release large amounts of heat with only a small change in temperature. Acts as a thermal buffer. Helps maintain stable internal temperatures in organisms. Stabilizes aquatic environments during environmental temperature changes. Water has a high latent heat of vaporization, meaning it requires a large amount of energy to evaporate. This allows organisms to lose a significant amount of heat with minimal water loss. As a result, the body surface stays cool and helps prevent overheating. For example, through sweating or transpiration. Cohesion is the attraction between water molecules due to hydrogen bonding. Adhesion is the attraction between water molecules and other surfaces, like cell walls. These two properties allow water to function as a transport medium in plants. Cohesion helps pull water and dissolved minerals upward through xylem against gravity. Adhesion helps water stick to the walls of xylem vessels, aiding upward movement. Water also has a high surface tension due to cohesion. This causes surface water molecules to be strongly attracted to those below, forming a thin film at the surface. As a result, small insects like water skaters can walk on the surface of ponds without sinking. 7. Density and ice formation. Usually, decreasing temperature increases the density of substances. Water reaches its maximum density at 4 degrees Celsius. Below 4 degrees Celsius, water starts to freeze, forming a crystalline lattice, ice. This structure makes ice less dense than liquid water. Ice floats on water because of its lower density. This floating ice acts as an insulating layer. Helps aquatic organisms survive under frozen surfaces during winter, especially in polar regions. Thanks for watching. Don't